Thistle's mission is to help people do two things. One is to invest in their long-term health, and second is to help people make great choices for the planet by choosing plant-based ingredients in their meals.
Does it work only in a delivery type way that people ordered it and they get it in their house, or are they able to also buy these somewhere physical?
We manufacture all of our own meals in our own facilities. What that means is that for our customer, the only way that they're going to access it is to buy directly from Thistle.co.
And nowadays, how big has the company become?
We've gone from 2 of us to now just over 1,000 people. And so that's 1,000 people that are working in our manufacturing facilities, our R&D teams, product development. It's a group of people that I pinch myself today have decided that they want to spend their careers solving for this one problem that are deeply important to each of them.
Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in. My name is Andres Figueira and I'm going to be your host for the day. This show is brought to you by the Global Talent Company, helping fast-growing teams hire exceptional remote talent from Argentina, South Africa, and beyond. We connect companies with world-class professionals who bring skill, reliability, and a global perspective to every role. And just for our listeners, we're offering an exclusive 10% discount on your first hire. All you need to do is visit globaltalent.co, click Start Hiring, and mention the podcast listener discount when we reach out. And today, with me here is Ashwin Cheriyan, CEO and co-founder at Thistle, a company that makes it easy to get and stay healthy while improving the sustainability of the food system. And with that said, Ashwin, how's it going? It's a pleasure to have you here, man.
Awesome. Doing great, Andres. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Can't complain. The heat in Argentina has lowered a bit because we were smack dab in the middle of the summer. So I must say I appreciate a little bit of a breath from the climate we've been having. But yeah, where are you located, Ash?
I'm in the Bay Area, so feel free to send some of that heat our way because it's been an unusually cold winter for us. So I'm up in Northern California, just north of the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco.
And Ashwin, just so that then we can get the audience a bit more in context about who you are and what Thistle is, would you be able to tell us your journey and how you came to create Thistle?
Yeah, happy to. So as you mentioned from the outset, Thistle's mission is to help people do two things. One is to invest in their long-term health via nutrition and incredibly fresh, healthy, real food. And second is to help people make great choices for the planet by choosing plant-based ingredients in their meals over predominantly animal products in order to improve the sustainability of the planet. So with those twin missions in mind, we sought to create a solution for customers who are time-starved, had an idea of what they wanted to do to invest in their health and longevity via food, but also wanted to make good choices for the planet. And so that was the kernel of the idea which we started Thistle now 13 years ago, to deliver the highest quality, fresh, plant-based meals that were fully prepared to the doorsteps of customers, starting in the Bay Area and now in every major metro on the West Coast of the United States, as well as many of the major metros on the East Coast of the U.S. as well, in order for people to have a solution to what do I eat for dinner that is going to both taste good, but help make good decisions for myself and the planet.
Wow, that's amazing. So then Thistle provides already prepped meals that showcase what you just mentioned. So it's plant-based, it's sustainable, and it's nutritious. So that way people can just forget about that part of the process and just trust in that they're getting the best quality food with what they need through Thistle, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I think the thing that I think most people perhaps forget when they're talking about food and functional benefits or planetary benefits is, first and foremost, the single most important attribute for food for most people is, does it taste good? And in a category in which you're trying to convince people to eat healthier, to eat ingredients that are, come from the earth that perhaps they might think might not taste as good as something that might be worse for you and, ultra processed. The thing that we do and what we love hearing from our customers is, I started your program because I thought this was a way for me to get invest in my health, but my God, does it taste so good that I forget that I'm eating something that has a functional benefit for me. So I think that's the one aspect of the brand, which I'm proud to say we never compromise on day one, is regardless of all the other attributes, whether it's health, whether it's convenience, whether it's sustainability, it has to taste good. Food should be a celebration and not a sacrifice. And I think that's the one thing that our team strives to put on the plate of our customers every single day.
And then Thistle, does it work only in a delivery type way that people ordered it and they get it in their house, or are they able to also buy these pre-made meals somewhere physical?
Yeah, so we're an end-to-end solution. So we're vertically integrated. So we manufacture all of our own meals in our own facilities, and we also handle the last mile logistics as well. So what that means is that for our customer, the only way that they're going to access it is to buy directly from thistle.co. You're signing up for a subscription, so something that recurs week over week. We make it really easy for you to set up a customized plan, accounting for things like allergies or ingredient restrictions. You get to pick, you have a ton of flexibility, whether you want to solve for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, whether you want to have an entirely vegan option, whether you want to have some animal protein in your meals, and then ultimately your delivery schedule, because I think part of what makes it hard for people to make good choices is access. If you think about, call it fast food restaurants, and why they proliferated over time in the past is when people used to travel from point A to point B, there was a McDonald's or a Burger King right there. And that made it incredibly convenient to access food. And that convenience was probably the single deciding factor of whether someone chose product A or product B. And for us, in order to compete in a world in which people were increasingly busy, you had to solve for the access problem, which meant that this was something that we strove to have delivered to the doorstep for our customers, one, so it's easy for someone to actually get it. You don't have to go to a store to go get it. And two, we chose fully prepared as the medium because people don't want to cook. As much as people say they enjoy making meals, for most of the meal opportunities, they don't have time. So that meant that whatever we provided, it has to go from fridge to plate in the matter of minutes. So whether that's something that is a fully prepared salad, which requires nothing other than taking out of the fridge or eating, or a meal that they can heat up in a skillet in about 2 to 3 minutes, that's how we think about kind of convenience as one of the core aspects of the product.
And Ash, since you conceived the idea for Thistle, how much time passed until you had your first paying subscriber that you sent a meal to?
Yeah, it's a great question. So just maybe for a little bit more context, in a prior life, I actually started my career as a corporate lawyer. So I was working on large-scale M&A transactions in New York, and I was the person looking for a solution. I had zero time on my hands, and I found that when at the end of the day, when I'm exhausted from work and tired, but I knew I wanted to eat something that was good for me, but all of the options that were easy were bad. Ultimately, those tended to be, I was ordering out, I was going out to eat, and ultimately my health started to decline. And so in trying to figure out a solution, finding that there was none that met all of my standards, that was when we started ideating. So back in 2013, we started working on what was the first offering that would resonate with customers. So it was actually iterative. We actually didn't start with meals as our first product. Our first line of products was a line of cold pressed juices. So incredibly fresh, unprocessed juices that were made with just fruits and vegetables, no preservatives, short shelf life. And the goal was to see whether customers would buy this product over existing products to validate whether or not we could even put out a product that could compete on taste and quality. And so the way we sold those products wasn't the current, offering, which is delivered to your door. We sold it in pop-up locations in the streets of San Francisco. And the goal wasn't to get revenue. The goal was to just get feedback. So people started trying our products. They tried these juices and they loved it. And then we slowly added a few meal options. So it's great. Like with your juice, would you like to try this incredibly fresh meal that's fully prepared that will taste just as great as something that you prepared at home? Would you like to try it? They purchased it. And then we started to see people come back day after day to start purchasing those items. And so that validated that the underlying product was good enough to go to market and feel that could compete against all of the existing offerings. And so within about 6 months, we pivoted from doing pop-up locations and retail sales into the first delivery. So we would take orders online, and my co-founder in this business is actually my life partner, my wife. We both kind of quit our jobs in order to start this business, and she would have orders that would come in, and I would drive them around San Francisco, delivering it to the doorsteps of our customers. And for the first 6 months, it was basically us acting as playing every role, from sourcing the meals in order to make sure that they were manufactured by our team of chefs, to then actually doing the deliveries. And again, every step of the way, looking for an opportunity to get feedback. So I would show up at a customer's doorstep and I would ask all the questions, such as, how did you even hear about it? If this is your second time, what can we do to improve? Hey, I'm the co-founder. Like, what do we get wrong with the messaging? Like, what other products would you like? And through that iteration, ultimately landed upon the service and configuration that you have today.
I love that you started it at home with your wife, and then it just organically grew through the feedback that you obtained and just understanding what your consumers wanted. But that is so crazy how you pivoted from juices to the complete meals and now what you're doing. And Ash, in terms of where where Thistle is active now, are you just in the Bay Area, or have you expanded around like the whole United States or maybe to North America? I'm not sure what your plans are with that or where you're at.
Yeah, so currently we're available in every major city on the West Coast. So that's everything from Seattle and Portland down to the Bay Area, Los Angeles, San Diego, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Reno. So every kind of city that has dense population on the West Coast, we serve. Because we do all the last mile delivery, we need a certain amount of density for the business model to work. So hence, we're not available everywhere, but anywhere where there's real population, we're available. And then about 3 years ago, we launched on the East Coast, and we have a similar model. So everything from Boston to New York City to Philadelphia to Washington, D.C., and then further west to Chicago and Atlanta, we cover those cities as well. And we have plans to expand into Texas and Florida over the coming years as well. And the entire goal is to be in every major metro, every, tier 1 and tier 2 city in the United States, where it makes sense for us to offer this product, and then eventually look to expand outside of the US as well.
Ash, another question that I have is, like, I feel there has been a very big boom, and there's like from 2 to 3 years ago a very high trend in lifestyle and fitness and in health and in well-being. Have you felt that this has helped you with Thistle and in getting the public and audience to accept it even more and even get more consumers? Or has it been just like a standard and average growth that you've noticed since 13 years ago?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, even 13 years ago, we started to see that there was this increasing awareness that people had in the link between long-term health outcomes and diet. There's this long-standing kind of thought earlier where people felt that exercise was the primary driver of longevity and good health. But the thing that we knew people were going to ultimately understand was diet plays a disproportionately larger role in long-term health outcomes, whether that's, call it every single chronic illness that is called the top 10 reasons why people end up getting sick or dying. 8 of them are diet related, right? 1 in 3 people on earth will die of cardiovascular disease, so heart disease, and then quickly followed by obesity, type 2 diabetes, certain forms of strokes and cancers, hypertension. All of those are the primary driver of those outcomes is diet. So we started to see even 13 years ago an increased awareness, and we knew that trend was only going to increase in people's awareness. And as that awareness translated into, now how do I actually take advantage of knowing what the right solution is, we knew that was going to translate into more sales and more demand for this product. And so 13 years ago, we were already starting to see that trend. But to answer your question, we've started to see it accelerate quite significantly over the course of the last 5 years, where this notion of longevity as the thing that everyone cares about. Like, I didn't even hear the word longevity as something that was used in common conversation, 5, 6, 7 years ago. Now it's all over the place, right? And
It is.
People are starting to realize that the goal isn't to just live longer. I mean, it's great, if everyone can have more years, but I think people are starting to realize, well, if I live an extra 10 years, I want to make sure those are good years, that I am able to go take advantage of the richness of life rather than have 10 extra years, but I am confined to a wheelchair, confined to my home because I didn't invest in all of the things that would allow my body to enjoy the richness of life. And so I think that's the thing that drives most of our customers to find us today and stay with us, because they realize that that's the investment that'll allow for the best possible chance at an amazing life as one ages and gets into their later years.
Of course. And if you pair that with excellent taste, then I think you got it right in the bag.
Yeah. And look, it's all, and we all know the drive. It's like, it's food, it's exercise, it's community. It's like, those are the things that if you look at the longest lived people on the planet, they invest in those things and they invest in it early, not just kind of, one off. And so for us, we just want to play a role as part of that ecosystem in being the most trusted brand for those that don't have time to do it themselves.
Wow. Now, I love that. And it really provides a solution. And I think the greatest thing is that this solution arises from a problem that you had, which makes it even that more personal and that much easier to actually execute, because you know what you were looking for and the standards that you had with when Thistle was created. And another question I do have is, Ash, I understand then that you started out with your wife, you and her just like going at it with Thistle. And nowadays, how big has the company become? How many people do you have helping you with this whole project and in this endeavor that does not seem simple at all?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it started out just the two of us. And eventually, as we got larger, we secured our first manufacturing facility. Instead of working with third-party chefs and caterers, we actually started to do our own self-manufacturing. And then initially, we started, I was doing deliveries on my own. We'd hire some contract drivers to help do deliveries. And eventually, we just hired our own employees. And today, fast forward 13 years, we've gone from two of us to now just over 1,000 people. And so that's 1,000 people that are working, across the board in our manufacturing facilities, our R&D teams, product development, our logistics teams. We have a meaningful engineering team, design team, marketing team. It's a group of people that I pinch myself today have decided that they want to spend their careers solving for this one problem that are deeply important to each of them.
Amazing. Wow, that's a bunch of people. And is the employment model you have with Thistle, is it just like in physical offices? Do you have a hybrid model where people can work remotely, or how does that work for you guys?
Yeah, so I think those that are actually involved in the physical manufacturing of food, right? Those are obviously in our facilities. There's no kind of other option. And we have one
Of course.
facility so we have one facility on the West Coast, one facility on the East Coast, and then our logistics teams are also co-located and then ultimately are working to figure out how do you get product from city A to city B and then ultimately to our customer doorsteps. So those are all effectively, quote unquote, in office or associated with the physical location. The corporate team, like with most people, we went fully remote during the pandemic. And
Okay.
and as a result of that, most of our team started to spread out from the Bay Area and then were located in other cities. And then new team members were hired in a number of different geographies in the US. So the corporate team is actually fully remote today. So we don't have a physical office that we all go to, but we do try to get together and then meet at facilities in order to make sure that we're never straying too far from the physical product that our customers receive.
Okay, I understand. No, and I do see that in the nature of what the product is, there must be some physicality involved because it must be there, and it's how you create it, how you take it, how you deliver it. So I totally understand that. And Ash, in terms of also, for example, I know that Thistle then started being more of a company that made juice, and then you added the meals, and people started giving you the feedback, and it turned into what it is today. Do you have maybe an example or an explanation of how your marketing philosophy with Thistle evolved during the years it's had, and how you targeted the audiences at the beginning to how you're doing that now?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think perhaps if I were to step back and think, what has been most resonant with customers over time, I think initially it was about convenience as perhaps the single biggest, call it, marketing pillar that we were unifying with initially. And then we quickly realized that in food, like we had to make sure that taste was the single biggest thing that we focused on. But now those things are becoming, table stakes, right? People like for people to even purchase once or refer a friend or certainly purchase twice, it has to be an incredibly high quality. It has to be convenient, and the taste has to be good. But now people are looking for things like, great, I care about longevity and health. Help me really understand before I make a purchase that this is validated and science-based and actually going to help me achieve those goals. So things like protein has been a really big factor in decision making, that the macros themselves, beyond just kind of the ingredients that we put on the plate, are meeting what I have decided are going to be my own requirements for meeting my longevity goals. Things like fiber, things like, gut health. Is this going to help me, promote kind of, a healthier gut microbiome as well? And so kind of leading more into this notion of health, peer-reviewed health, science-backed health, and then showing people very clearly that these products are going to help our customers achieve those goals has been a big focus of our marketing over the course of certainly over the last 18 months, but I would call it over the last 3 years, that has been increasingly the angle that people use to make a purchasing decision or not.
Wow, I totally get that because I'm going through that hassle myself. It's just like I'm trying to meet my protein macros every day, and I'm like, I can't eat anymore, and I don't want to take any supplements. And I don't want to take
really
any
hard.
supplements.
Yeah.
And it really is. So if you find a partner in what Thistle is that can allow you to understand how much that will help you in terms of, I'll eat 32 grams of protein with this meal, and if I add it with that, I'll meet my macros that I want. That is so cool, because I have noticed as well, like from my personal side, that it is something that people are paying a lot more attention to, not just like the nutrition and the ingredient list of the product that they're eating, but it's how much it actually helps them with those other goals that do help out with long-term health, as you're mentioning. That is so cool, man, that you've been able to pivot and that you're now leaning into that science-backed nutrition and reasoning to prove that Thistle is the partner that everybody needs. And another question I do have is, and this is something I ask in almost every podcast I'm hosting right now, is, Ash, are you leveraging with Thistle, are you leveraging any AI in any special or specific way that is helping you out in your normal processes, or maybe a new way that you're using it due to the nature of your industry, but maybe that we don't know about?
Yeah, I mean, so given the fact that we're vertically integrated, right, I think we identified there's a number of ways that we can integrate AI, both big and small, into what otherwise would have been a relatively manual set of tasks across the board. So everything from menu planning, so how do we think about new menu development, right, would take a ton of time from a relatively small team in order to match everything from a new recipe that meets certain macros that can play well with the other items that are on that week's menu in that category, whether that's breakfast, lunch, dinner, in order to not just optimize for taste, but the macros working individually and together. It would just take a ton of time from our team. And now, because we both have a ton of information about customer behavior in the past, they're able to look at the 1,000 other menus that were on, that our customers used. What did they select? What meals did they swap in and out of? Why? What feedback did they give us in real time for each of those dishes? And how can I use that and then use AI to now construct great menus based on all of that feedback and data that will give the highest chance for new customers to have the best experience possible, and then ultimately existing customers to want to stay. So that's one area where we've really leveraged AI tools. The other more obvious one is customer support. I think that in a business like ours, where we have so many moving parts, we are going to screw up. Right? We're showing up on the doorstep of our customers week over week, and we have to make sure that every customer gets the right order at the right time in the right delivery window at the right place week over week over week. And where we found AI to really be helpful is the speed at which we can resolve issues, right? So if someone gets a delivery and it contains 9 of the items they wanted, but the last one is something that was different because we missed it or we made a mistake or we swapped it with someone else, speed of response and speed of resolution is critical in forming whether or not that person walks away with a good sense that the company cares about their underlying issues, or something that is going to cloud the entire experience. And we found that that's really helped our customer support team kind of go through the really easy tickets that artificial intelligence can really solve, and then spend more time on the more complex cases which require a human touch, and give them the right amount of time in order to turn what was a bad experience into a good one. So that's two. And then three, we build much of our own software in-house, whether that's powering our operations or whether it's powering our logistics. And we have an engineering team, and we found that the speed of development of new internal software and customer-facing software, that has exploded in terms of our ability to push out new features and products and tools both internally and to our customers at a rate that I've never seen before. So those are kind of three areas that AI has really helped supercharge the business.
That is amazing. Yeah, I had heard about how AI really helps with customer support, and that is kind of like a given nowadays because it really has a help with the speed of response that you're mentioning and being able to highlight what needs human interaction or what can be done by the AI. I loved how you mentioned that it's helping you with the menus, because now I'm just imagining a chef talking with ChatGPT and asking them about what they think is the best recipe and then trying it out. And that's just crazy because I hadn't seen the mix of AI with food. So that is super cool.
And
And
now imagine if
Ash,
you had a data set of 13 years of menus that you've tried, and the feedback and all of the underlying customer interactions and if you fed that in and said, okay, based on this, optimize for all of the things that provide for the best customer experience, you end up having some pretty amazing results. And you can just test and iterate on that really, really quickly.
no, I'm imagining it and must be crazy. And Ash, I'm noticing that we're almost at time, but I do have one more question for you before we close out the episode. And that is, in terms of Thistle and you as the CEO and co-founder, what are your goals for 2026? Now that we're in January, what do you want to accomplish with Thistle in the next 12 months?
Yeah, again, I think that health is a journey, and there's so many more people in 2026 that are looking for the right best solution to start their journey into investing in their own health. And I think for us, access to more geographies is an important part of building the brand. We're still not in every single major metro. And so we have a pretty aggressive set of cities that we're looking to launch over the course of the next 12 to 18 months. And making sure that we get to those metros and launch as quickly and smoothly as possible is going to be a priority. So that's one. And two, how do we then find other good partners that we can work with that have similar missions? So maybe you've seen this, but there's a ton of other businesses that are trying to provide tailored recommendations on an individual levels, whether it's based on a person's biomarkers or lifestyle choices. What are the things that you can do based on your own specific circumstances and biology to invest in your own health? And the challenge with those platforms is almost all of them are going to give you recommendations for diet, but people still face the problems like, well, I have this tailored recommendation. How do I translate that into reality? And can Thistle play a role in finding the right partners that can then give customers a great recommendation, but seamlessly work towards a service and a platform that can help them get those products that match those recommendations? That's going to be a big area of interest for us. Whether we build that functionality in-house or whether we find good external partners, that's going to be a big goal for us here in 2026.
Wow, that's amazing. That's even personalizing the process even more and getting to what the people really want. Okay, no, I have no doubt in that you'll be able to accomplish those two goals and even more during this year, because from what I hear and from how you speak about Thistle, I think it's a very sound and a very logical endeavor to do, because it really is something that the world needs and will keep on needing, because health is something that will never die. It's a trend that, even though it has what's it called? It has rised even more right now. It's the truth. People always want to be healthy. So I think Thistle, if it keeps going as it is, it's here to stay, man. So that's amazing. That's
I appreciate
amazing.
that.
And Ash, as a final commentary before I finalize the episode, I did want to give you the chance to just remind everybody how they can get Thistle products, how they can see if it is available in their city. I know you mentioned the West Coast and every big one over there, but if somebody isn't sure, do they just need to go to thistle.com and see if it's available?
It's actually, you can go to thistle.co. And that's the way for you to, one, see if it's available in your city. Even if it's not, it's actually worth signing up because, one, you get alerted when we do launch in your city. Two, it gives us an idea where there's interest and helps us kind of dictate what cities have the most potential customers as well. And so I think that's the easiest way for someone to learn more about our brand, learn more about our story, learn more about product offerings, and ultimately figure out if it is available, the best way to sign up for something that is personalized for your own health journey. So thistle.co.
Amazing. So anybody who's here listening with us, you heard it here first, thistle.co. And just know that if it's not available, make sure to sign up anyway, so that way you can skew and leverage the numbers so that it is opened up in your city as soon as possible. That is amazing. And with that said, Ash, thank you so much, man, for hopping on the episode. It has been a pleasure, and it has been super interesting to learn about Thistle and everything you guys are doing.
Thanks so much, Andres. It's been my pleasure to be a guest on this podcast. It's been great.
No problem at all. Likewise. And to anybody here with us as well, thank you so much for staying, for listening to us speak, and for learning about all the different industries that we bring onto the show and the different personalities that we're talking to. So with that said, see you next time.